having a poverty mindset is far more dangerous than being in poverty itself. You see, being in poverty is escapable. Having a poverty mindset is not. It's important to note that having a poverty mindset does not necessarily mean you are in poverty. You can have a poverty mindset and make tons of money. You see, an example of having a poverty mindset is the person who gets on TikTok saying they make $120,000 a year, hair done, nails done, everything did, yet they can't afford to buy groceries. That's a poverty mindset. That is, the world is too hard even though I have access to capital and nothing that I can do can change my circumstances. Being in poverty is very clear. It's a number. And no matter what state you live in, there is a number for your state that is marking the poverty line. If you make less than that number, you're in poverty. The thing about poverty, though, is the moment you make more, you're not in poverty. You can work your way out of poverty. You can work as much as you'd like. See, if your mindset is, I am in poverty right now because I don't have any resources, because again, that is the reality. But if I do X, Y, and Z, I can get out of it. That is someone who is in poverty, but not having a poverty mindset. That's the person you want to be if you're going to be poor. Being poor and having a poverty mindset, yeah, that's you're fucked. Because that person has decided that they are going to slum it and stew in their poverty and then also blame the world for the fact that they can't get out. The thing about America is you always got a choice. And when you start to turn your brain off and say, yeah, the circumstances around me are such that I can never get out of the position I find myself in, you necessarily put your hands, your life, in the hands of everyone else but you. Which is funny because if you were to ask that person I mentioned earlier, someone who makes $120,000 but feels like it's impossible to live because cost of living and all of that, right? If you were to ask them, how did you start making $120,000 a year? I'm willing to bet that they would tell you they're hardworking, they were diligent, they worked their way up, that they are deserving of that salary. Isn't it interesting that when there's accolades to be had, we are more than willing to step into the light and say, it's on me, I did that. But when we have to reconcile our bad choices with the reality we find ourselves in, that's the world. See, it's just too hard out here. You can't have it both ways. Having a poverty mindset will trick you into believing that you can accept and take credit for the good and blame the world for the bad. The reality is that a responsible individual takes all responsibility for all the good and the bad. All of it. It's on us. As I've mentioned before, things that happen in your life, there's going to be a lot of them that might not necessarily be your fault, but they are damn sure your responsibility. The reason for that is it's your life. You cannot say that you are a human being with autonomy and say it's someone else's responsibility to get me out of my mess, even if you didn't do it. At the end of the day, the bills are yours. At the end of the day, all the expenses are yours. At the end of the day, the debt is yours. Which means the only person that's going to get you out of your hole is you. Now, is it possible that someone could toss you a lifeline? Yeah, maybe. But you cannot operate in the hole as if that's going to happen. You need to operate with the mindset that this is all on me. That's what the person in the poverty mindset is missing. That's what makes them dangerous. The danger of the poverty mindset person is not necessarily that they themselves will not get out. It's the fact that if you let them, they'll suck you in with them. Because what you have to realize about the person that has the poverty mindset is they have committed to their hole for life. And when you commit to this barren wasteland hole that you have essentially made for yourself, you're the only one there, and it gets lonely. So what's the rational next step? Pull another sucker in with you. Grab him by the legs. And you know how that happens? The slow conversations we have around society and rent prices and how hard things are and how you don't deserve this, all of those things creep into your psyche and you start talking just like they do. Yeah, you're right. I don't deserve to be paying all this money in rent. I shouldn't have to pay for this much in child care. As if you weren't the person that laid down and had those kids. As if you didn't know someone was gonna have to watch those children. Shame. But see, this is what the poverty mindset does. It has you look around for answers to your situation that exclude you. Because if you see bad things, it can't be your fault. That's what the poverty mindset teaches you, and that's why it's dangerous. Success is a matter of taking ownership of all of it, good and bad, and saying, if I'm going to succeed, it's going to be on me to hold all these reins, no matter what. And sometimes that's going to look ugly. Sometimes that means you're going to have to deal with things that you shouldn't have to, because being successful, that's not about being morally right. A lot of us can't let that go. A lot of us are so wrapped up in the morality of it that we feel like we have to reconcile being right and what our lives are. You're not going to be able to do it. You got to realize that sometimes life's unfair. Sometimes you're going to have to take ownership of shit that you shouldn't have to, and that's just the truth. It is what it is. Do not let people who have committed to their hole of despair, their poverty mindset wasteland, suck you in with them and allow you to stop dreaming, allow you to stop working towards things that are good for you. Just because they're not willing to do the work doesn't mean that you shouldn't be willing. Poverty mindset is dangerous. Being in poverty isn't. You can get out of poverty. You can't get out of the hole that you make in your own mind. That's all I want to say. I'll talk to you later.